Well, that escalated quickly. I uploaded a video yesterday, middle of the day, defending Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and explaining why I think they would be good options for the Steelers at the quarterback position for next season. And also why we don't need to worry about bringing in a 36-year-old Russell Wilson. And what do you know? Right after that video goes live, I see a Jerry Dulac report pop up across my screen. And the report is the Steelers are going to be meeting with Russell Wilson before free agency. So obviously there is some interest there. I suppose I'm supposed to just switch up my takes. I suppose I'm supposed to just forget about what I said yesterday and what I have been saying over the last several weeks. That Kenny and Mason are legitimate options for the Steelers, and they would be just fine rolling with either one as the starter. Nah, I'm standing on it. And actually, us having interest in Russell Wilson goes hand in hand with what I've been saying this whole time. Kenny Mason, that would be my first option. That's what I'd be rolling with. Kenny already on the roster, re-sign Mason, do the quarterback competition between those two. But I would also completely understand, I would completely get the Steelers having interest in Russell Wilson and going that route and signing him for $1 million because that's what he's available for right now, which is kind of insane. This is a very unique circumstance. Very unique circumstance for Kenny Pickett and just the whole Steelers quarterback situation, how it played out over these 6 months. Think, going back to, when did we fire Canada? Was that like middle of November? We fire Canada. Things are looking up as an offense immediately after because Kenny Pickett throws for almost 300 yards and offense puts up over 400 yards in total for the first time in like 50 games. And then Arizona game happens after that. We're sitting at 7-4. Kenny gets hurt right before halftime, and we end up losing that game. Mitch comes in. We go on a 3-game skid. Mason then comes in for the Bengals game. Kenny's still hurt. He's got this spot start for his career. Steelers season's on the line, and he absolutely balls out. And Kenny Pickett doesn't get a shot for the rest of the season. And we're sitting here in the offseason talking about potentially signing Russell Wilson for $1 million. Like, this is crazy. What probably would have happened if Kenny didn't get hurt, like 9 out of 10 times, I think he parlays what he did in that Bengals game and early in that Cardinals game and finishes the season strong. And we make the playoffs and potentially we beat a Miami Dolphins team or a Buffalo Bills team with the momentum that we have. Like, that is very much the case. Or we lose in round 1, 2, just like what happened in the Mason scenario. But even then, probably if you're making the playoffs with Kenny Pickett, you either win a game in the first round or you lose it. As long as he doesn't lay an egg, you're just rolling with Kenny going into next year, right? We don't get to see Mason Rudolph at all. We don't get to see what this offense looks like without Kenny Pickett. And then, you're probably not even thinking about Russell Wilson. You're not thinking about trading for Justin Fields, anything like that. But this is, a very, very, very unique circumstance. Not only are we exploring all options at quarterback, but you got a Hall of Famer out there that's available for $1 million or vet minimum, whatever the vet minimum is for him being, 13 years into the league. It's probably like $1.5 million or $2 million. It's a very, very, very unique circumstance, and I understand why the Steelers are doing this due diligence. I would like to see what Kenny's got going into his third year. I explained all the reasons why yesterday, and I could say the same thing for Mason Rudolph. But who can argue Russell Wilson for a vet minimum contract? It's tough to do. It's really tough to do. I guess the argument would be is if you sign Russell Wilson, you potentially could be overlooking a long-term solution by seeing what Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph's got. That is if they declare Russell Wilson the starter day one when they sign him. up to this point, based off what Jerry Dulac said in his article, the Steelers aren't 100% willing to declare Russell Wilson the starter. In fact, there is a report by Rich Eisen, he spoke about it on his show, that says otherwise.
So, but what does it mean? Because they're going to have a quarterback competition. That's going to happen. And I thought, as I said yesterday, I don't think Russ wants to join a spot where there is a competition. He wants the spot where, like, the job is yours, or the competition is going to be kind of like the Baker Mayfield versus the Kyle Trask competition last year. Like, all right, thumb's going to be on the scale. We gave up enough capital to go get you in draft picks or a pick to go get you. And we've already seen what we had in Kyle Trask around the building, and we'll give you the leg up. You'll be the starter week 1 preseason, and you go from there. But the thumb's going to be kind of on the scale, Baker. I thought we'd see that. I don't think you're going to get that in Pittsburgh. I think that they will be they like Kenny Pickett. And if they do start Kenny Pickett, Russ is going to be holding a clipboard. Or even worse, cut. Because it's not going to cost them anything to cut him.
And I don't mind that at all. I assumed if you signed Russell Wilson, you would make him quarterback 1 because it is Russell Wilson. But not going to lie, I prefer this approach, and it goes hand in hand with what Omar Khan has been saying this whole time. They have faith in Kenny Pickett. So if they didn't have faith in Kenny Pickett, they would just declare Russell Wilson QB1. No, they got faith in Kenny Pickett, and they are going to bring him some solid competition. Russell Wilson, even at age 36, would be solid competition. But the way I look at it now is the ball is in Russell Wilson's court. And that's the thing. Who knows how the Steelers view Russell Wilson? A lot of you guys out there are saying it's a guarantee he's an upgrade over Pickett or Mason for next season. Steelers might be viewing it like, bro, you couldn't make it work with Sean Payton, who's like this offensive guru head coach. They're paying you $85 million to stay away from the organization. You're 36 years old. Like, there's a reason you're available. We're not just going to hand you over the keys. We drafted this guy in the first round, even though it hasn't worked out the way that we planned. We still like him. Let's see what you could do against Kenny in this new system with Arthur Smith. They might be looking at it at Russell Wilson like that. So the ball's in Russ's court. Does he want to compete? Or is he trying to go to a scenario where they're like, all right, you're QB1 right off the bat? But for those of you that, again, think Russ is this like slam dunk upgrade over Pickett or Mason for 2024, I got Broncos insiders telling me that some of those stats last year may have been fool's gold. Now, from what I watched from some of the Broncos games that I saw, I thought Russ was doing pretty decent last year. Is it the Seattle Russ? No, but I think he did better than his first Broncos year. That's for sure. I don't think he was half bad. No, I'll admit that. And I don't think the Broncos receivers were that great. But for those that are acting like, oh man, look at the stats, look at the touchdowns for Russ, there's a little bit of a fool's gold narrative out there potentially on those stats. And if you don't want to take it from my Broncos insiders, why don't you take it from a guy that knows ball pretty well and follows the Broncos pretty closely in Mark Schlereth?
The way Russ played, the way he's played the last couple of years, he's a deficient quarterback. He's diminished. He doesn't throw the ball in the middle of the football field. He doesn't anticipate throws.
What?
You can sit here and tell me all day long, 26 TDs and 8 interceptions. I'll tell you garbage numbers. Like the things he does, that he's just not good enough anymore. So we've got to move on from that.
The most part for me, Colin, it's when you actually start to break down the film and you see so many of the throws in the middle of the football field, anticipatory throws, in-cutting routes, where you've got to throw it with timing and anticipation that are there that are going to come open where Russell decides to pull the ball and scramble around. And those are the things that will drive you crazy as a coach who wants it to be thrown on time with a purpose. And so that lack of schematic fit
Yeah.
Right? That ability to pull the ball down when you are protected and scramble around, and you end up taking sack after sack, and you're putting yourself behind, the chains. Those are the things that don't necessarily jive well with Sean Payton. He wants precision, he wants execution, he wants a Drew Brees type of quarterback who can function and who can process information in just a split second and make the right decision. And those are not things that are part of Russell Wilson's skill set. So when you started watching the film, you realize, wow, this does not mesh very well.
Now that's interesting, because isn't that the same stuff that Steeler fans have been complaining about with our current guy and why they want him gone so bad and cut and replaced? Food for thought. But yeah, a meeting's going to be taking place presumably over this weekend. There's obviously mutual interest, and we'll see what happens. There's going to be a back and forth. Russ will say his piece and what he's looking for. Steelers will explain their expectations and what they're looking for, and you just see if it's going to be a match. Will Russ be willing to come into a squad where they're not guaranteeing him to be the starter and he has to compete, or maybe even be QB2 right off the bat at the start of the offseason? Because Steelers could be like, bro, Pickett's here, he's QB1, we're going to bring you in, you could be the backup, and you got to beat him out. We do believe in him. We're not lying when we say we have full faith, but you're going to be really good competition, obviously, because you're Russell Wilson. Maybe the Steelers don't view Russ as highly as a lot of the fans do out here. A lot of Steeler fans, at least, because I don't think Broncos fans view him that highly. I think some people think he was sabotaged a little bit by the organization and the situation, but I think they also do understand why he was released, which is crazy considering they're taking on such a large dead cap. Like, that is a little bit of a red flag. No, you heard what Mark Slayers had to say. But just in general, Steelers doing due diligence on the quarterback position and taking it serious like this, not a bad thing. Definitely not a bad thing. So that's where I'm at. I have the same exact take that I have had over the last several weeks and even going back to yesterday. Let's see what Kenny's got. Re-sign Mason. Let that be the competition. I think they got upside. I think they can be solid starting quarterbacks for us, top 15 type of quarterbacks for us next year. But if you want to take something that's a little bit more proven, that you've seen do it over the course of the last 13 seasons, and a Russell Wilson, even though he may be not the Russell Wilson of old, I would understand that too, for the price that where he's at. Especially if you're not guaranteeing him anything either. If it is just like, bro, we'll bring you in and you can compete. Like, that's Russell Wilson on $1.5 million contract or $2 million contract, that minimum contract. Like, you're signing guys that are way worse than him for more money. Like, Mason Rudolph's contract will probably be more than Russell Wilson. So that's just halfway decent business. That's just taking care of your quarterback room, doing proper due diligence on your quarterback room. I get that. Now, guaranteeing him to be a QB1, that's a little bit of a different story. You're talking about more things that come with that. You're talking about, like, Pickett. Forget what we said about full faith. Obviously, our actions speak louder than those words. Who knows how Pickett reacts? And I know a lot of you guys out there don't care how Pickett reacts. But if you do believe in him, that might be out the window then. Long term, you might lose him. That might, like, if you're talking about Pickett being a serious option as a long-term solution, that's out the window. Mason ain't coming here either. If you say, Russell, you're QB1, Mason's not coming here. There's no way, because he's going to have no chance to start. But it'll be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. I get it. I've said it 50 times. I get it. I understand. And, yeah, we'll see what happens. Stay chilling. No safety talk today. I'm actually about to be going golfing. I'm not prepared for the safety talk because of this Russell Wilson news that dropped. We'll get to that tomorrow. But stay chilling. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.